Three things that scared Stalin the most. 1. Flying. Joseph Stalin had aerophobia. He always traveled by motorcade. He rarely left Moscow. When he did, he took an armored train. The train had a large contingent of soldiers. Planes crashed frequently in the 1920s and 1930s. In 1925, one crashed near Tbilisi. A group of high-ranking Soviet officials were killed. Stalin's rival Leon Trotsky was meant to be on the flight. He decided to take the train at the last moment. Another plane crash occurred in 1931. Soviet military theoretician Vladimir Triandafilov died in it. Pyotr Baranov died in a crash 2 years later. He was the creator of the Soviet Air Force. Stalin initiated an internal investigation. He banned high-ranking officials from traveling by plane. Stalin himself only flew twice in his life. In 1943, he attended the Tehran Conference. There was no secure rail link to Tehran. The Soviets built two versions of the Douglas DC-3 airliner. Stalin rejected them in favor of two American-built C-47s. The designated pilot was the commander of strategic aviation, but Stalin chose a pilot pulled from frontline duty. On board, Stalin was visibly tense. However, both flights went without accidents. The pilot received a quick promotion in rank. He was granted the highest military honor, Hero of the Soviet Union. Stalin hid his fear behind enthusiasm. He became a patron of air shows. He dramatically expanded the Soviet Air Force. By the beginning of World War II, it had 10,000 aircraft. Elite Soviet pilots were called Stalin's Falcons. Stalin's name was emblazoned on the AN-25. It crossed the North Pole in 1937. 2. Poisoning. Stalin's every meal underwent numerous tests. His food was grown at special farms. It was produced in special factories. The food was then lab-tested. A retinue of labs followed Stalin everywhere. His paranoia became worse during the Great Purge. In the 1930s, Stalin led a campaign to solidify his power. Up to 1.2 million people were executed. Stalin didn't even trust his closest comrades. At dinners, he asked them to test the food first. Only then would he eat himself. Stalin would force his guests to drink to excess. He stayed relatively sober. Stalin died on March 5, 1953. His son Vasily claimed his father had been poisoned. Stalin's official cause of death was a hemorrhagic stroke, but it suggested he was poisoned by warfarin. Warfarin poisoning can lead to intracerebral hemorrhage. The suspect was Stalin's security chief, Lavrenti Beria. The Soviet poison laboratory was under Beria's supervision. He had a history of poisoning his enemies. Beria was also considered a likely successor to Stalin. 3. Dying in sleep. Stalin's fear made him work during the night. He stayed awake until he was completely exhausted. Other Soviet officials didn't get much sleep either. Stalin could summon them at any moment. His nighttime schedule was used for propaganda purposes. The light was kept on in his Kremlin office until late. Everyone could see Stalin tirelessly working for the motherland. It didn't really matter if he was there or not.